Lou Dobbs in CNN. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As you may know, the last of the original CNN anchors, Lou Dobbs, has left the network after 27 years. We'll talk to Mr. Dobbs in a moment and find out exactly why that happened, but there's no question that illegal immigration played a part. The New York Times, among others, is thrilled about Dobbs exiting, editorializing, quote, Mr. Dobbs' CNN program has long been a nesting ground for untruths and conspiracy theories. It's hard to pinpoint how much damage these kinds of ideas have done to the national discussion of illegal immigration, but they have been corrosive. Solutions have withered, as many politicians parrot the central myth that people desperate to seek new lives in the United States are an affliction to be feared, not an opportunity to be engaged, future Americans who could enrich the country as immigrants always have and will. The anti-immigrant label applied to Lou Dobbs did not sit well with CNN, which is dominated by liberal management. Also, Dobbs gave voice to the birthers, a fringe group that believes President Obama was not born in the USA. But it was the immigration deal that defined Lou.
Don't get me wrong, it's hard to leave, but in recent years it's become clear that the C in CNN is not the letter C, but rather the Spanish word sí, meaning yes. As in, yes, the Mexicans are coming and they're here to stay. Now, I, of course, wish only the best to my replacement, John King, a.k.a. Juan King.
According to the polls, most Americans are not anti-immigration, but they are firmly against chaos and the quasi-open border system the New York Times embraces. After all, where is the fairness of amnesty for people who break the law coming here while others wait for years to legally come to the USA? On the subject of criminal illegal aliens, the factor in Lou Dobbs has been quite clear. Zero tolerance, commit a crime, serve time, and then be banished forever. But again, that deeply offends liberal America, which rarely makes value judgments about bad behavior. It's all theory to them. The struggling downtrodden deserve every break, every entitlement, even if destruction and heartbreak is the result. CNN is not a place that embraces controversy or conservative populist principles. And so the departure of Lou Dobbs was inevitable. It's a miracle he lasted as long as he did. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, here he is, the recently emancipated Lou Dobbs. Okay, you still got your radio show 3 hours a day, and you're still popping off on there. But on CNN, you did quite well in the ratings when the immigration thing was in the forefront. And CNN actually moved you up from a fringe, they call it early fringe, to 7 o'clock because your ratings were strong.
Right.
Then your ratings leveled as well as all the ratings for CNN and began to go down. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right.
So then they didn't like your anti-immigration stuff so much, did they?
I discern more of a difference between then, which was under the Bush administration, whom I was criticizing, and now, when it is the Obama administration, and an entirely different tone was taken. Not so much in the case of CNN management, certainly, because my contract was very explicit. I had absolute editorial control. What I reported is what I chose to report.
So they never said to you in the hallway, we don't like this, or this doesn't make you or the network look good? You never got that kind of feedback?
Never. The only issue that came up in the last 90 days of my employment there was John Klein and I talked about the issue of opinion itself and advocacy journalism. He wanted to take the network in a different direction, and I quite understood that and tried to accommodate him, Bill.
But it doesn't make any sense. So let's just go back.
Sure.
Under the Bush administration, and President Bush didn't do a lot to stem illegal immigration until his last 2 years.
Yeah,
so you hammered him.
Absolutely.
You hammered him. But at the same time, La Raza and other groups labeled you an anti-immigrant guy, not an anti-illegal immigrant guy, an anti-immigrant guy.
And so did, by the way, the New York Times, which conflated illegal immigration with
legal immigration.
Right.
So you were demonized by the left as a bad guy. You don't think CNN bought into that at all?
I don't. I really don't. But that's just purely subjective on my part. CNN's management never tried, and by the way, in 27 years, and this goes back to when Ted was running the operation, they never tried to.
And I believe you because, as I said, they moved you up in a time slot when your numbers were good. But then the numbers leveled and went down, and then a new president came in, and you're saying as soon as the new president came in and you went after him, not only on illegal immigration, but economic issues, they didn't like you anymore.
Well, I don't know whether that was the distinction that triggered any sort of response or difference in perspective on the part of CNN's management, but it is the only difference between the way I was conducting myself under this administration and the previous administration.
But what did you hear? I mean, did you hear that they were uncomfortable with you?
No, what I heard very directly was that they had decided to take CNN in a direction in which advocacy journalism would not
okay, so they just
be a part
want
of it.
an objective presentation in prime time. But it doesn't make any sense because their numbers, and with all due respect, because we don't have anything against CNN. NBC News, we don't like. But CNN, I don't have anything against you guys. Campbell Brown, Larry King.
By the way, it's those guys now.
Okay. Right, those guys, I'm sorry. But every show that doesn't have an opinion is dying.
Right.
It's dying. Campbell Brown's getting murdered. Larry King has declined like 80%. Anderson Cooper's getting hammered. So they want more of the same? They want more of that? Does that make sense to you as an economic guy?
Well, I'm just talent.
No, you're an economic guy. You can read. You can read the numbers. They're in dire trouble.
Their ratings are objectively, without question, as you suggest, lower than they should be, than they've been. By the way, I was partly to blame for that because my broadcast was in that lineup. They're making choices now, trying obviously to change that direction.
But what? By knocking out all opinion? Opinion's what works. That's what works.
You're going to have to talk to them on that one.
Okay, so you were in a position where you weren't getting criticized directly, you say.
Correct.
Okay, but the perception was things weren't. The perception was you were just too opinionated, and they didn't want that.
That was, well, obviously that's what they didn't want because the direction was to move toward purely a neutral presentation.
Okay. Now the birther thing, I think that hurts you. You gave them voice, and it's okay to give them voice, but they appeared a lot on your program.
Well, actually, no. This was about a 2-week period, and by the way, my big offense here, and by the way, we have see there I went and did it. CNN has a broadcast called Reliable Sources with Howard Kurtz of the Washington Post. They ran some excerpts of what I had said about birthers. Here's what I said about birthers, Bill. I said birthers have a question about a birth certificate. I personally believe that Barack Obama is a citizen of the United States. What I don't understand is that with Army officers refusing to serve in Afghanistan, with lawsuits going forward, why not just produce the doggone birth certificate and be done with it? That was my offense, to answer the question. And my question to you is, what kind of country is it when someone in the media asks a question and that becomes a controversy?
Well, if you're going to ask a question that Barack Obama doesn't want to answer, you're going to get hammered by the Obama people, and that's what happened. And it happened to the extent that you say you were shot at out in New Jersey where you live, right?
Well, it followed that shot at our house on a mid-morning.
Do you really believe that somebody shot at your house?
No, I know it.
You know it.
It's a demonstrable fact. And that followed months and months of threats on the issue of illegal immigration over our phones.
I get them too. I know what you're going through.
And it became a matter of some intensity in the last 2 or 3 months preceding that shot. And there are those who, what's interesting, on the far left, there are people saying, that just didn't happen. He made that up.
Yeah, there are.
Well, here is the conclusive evidence to my thinking and to my wife's. And that is the threat stopped on that very day that shot was fired. We haven't received a threat since then.
Because the cops came out and everybody did. I'm going to carry Lou over for a couple of minutes here.
Sure.
Now, there's been speculation you might run for the Senate in New Jersey. Is that on your mind?
A lot of things are on my mind. I'm not going to be coy about this.
But, you would be a legitimate contender for the Senate.
I'm thinking, my wife and I are thinking about a lot of opportunities. I'm very blessed to have a lot of opportunities. I'm going to remain, I can guarantee you 100% I'm going to remain in the public arena. These issues that matter so much to me, many of the same that matter to you, are not changing. What is immutable here is I'm going to remain in the public arena.
All right, so you'll be in the radio, you might come back to TV if the right circumstance presented itself, and you might run for office. The final question, Barack Obama, is he the devil?
He's not the devil, but he is certainly a man who is right now not making it easy to understand why he's making the public policy choices that he is. There has to be a better understanding and it can only result from his expression to the American people as to what is taking so long to come to a decision in Afghanistan. why it is so necessary to turn over a sixth of the economy to the United States government, which has not showered
Healthcare,
itself with
right.
glory on any other subject.
So you don't think he's a devil, but you think he's mismanaging the country at this point?
I think that absolutely.
All right. I'm sorry to put words in your mouth. But
No, but that was I decided those were
Look,
a pretty good choice.
I'd like you to come back on a semi-regular basis. Would you be willing to do that?
Be my honor.
Okay. All right, Lou Dobbs, everybody, and we appreciate it. Good luck. Thanks for coming in.
Bill.